A while back, I was doing an onboarding audit for a new client, and I caught myself about 40-50 minutes in thinking. I have done this exact process so many times for years, and I'm spending most of this time just reading the data the same way I always did. The actual judgment calls, the things that require me specifically, those I can do maybe in less than 15 minutes. So I was thinking, what if I give Claude a direct connection to the account and let it handle the reading part for me? Not the thinking, just the reading. So I built that, and I want to show you exactly what an audit looks like now. The account I'm going to use today is a jewelry brand I managed for years. This is a real past data, and I know this account well enough that I can tell you when something Claude flags is right and when the framing is slightly off. Now, the context matters because the whole point of this video is not Claude is amazing and will do your audits for you. The point here is that the combination of live data with the right questions and your own judgment is genuinely faster and better than doing everything manually. So let me show you what that looks like in practice. Here's the first difference from every other AI Google Ads video you probably seen. I'm not opening Google Ads, exporting CSV formatting and pasting it inside the Claude as I did, let's say, last year. Claude has a direct live connection to the account. So when I ask it to pull search terms of campaign performance, it's going through the account directly, through the MCP connection that I have built. And also, if you like to get more details about how to build this MCP connection, just let me know in the comments and I'll make sure to create a separate video for that. So for audit, you can start with different things: account settings, conversion data. In this example, we can focus on three things: search terms for the last 30 days sorted by cost, campaign performance, spend, conversions, conversion value, and if there is a performance max campaign, we can do an asset group breakdown. So that's it for this example. 3 queries, can take maybe 20-30 seconds, and then we start working. Before I ask Claude anything analytical, I give it 3 sentences: business type, customer value, and what I'm looking for. So for this specific example, we can write something like, this is a fine jewelry store selling mostly lab-grown diamond engagement rings. So I provide here the context about the business and product as well. And let's include the audience. Audience is US only, women, men age 25 to 45. Average order value is around $2,000-3,000, and I want to find where the budget is leaking and whether the campaign structure makes sense for this average order value. So this is the approximate prompt that I would give to it, and it takes into account the business, the products, the audience, and what I actually want to get. Without context, the model gives you just general best practices that it scanned on some very old blogs online. And with context, Claude knows what an expensive keyword means in the context and what a reasonable cost per acquisition can look like. So it's important, do not skip this step. It's the cheapest thing you can do to improve the quality of every answer you will get, not just from Claude AI, but basically from any other AI tool you're using. In the end, I need to attach the account ID number so it will know where to take the data from because I have multiple clients under my manager account. So let me write that down. All right, now we're going to click enter and see what we will get. Okay, I think the audit has finally finished. In the meantime, I did some other stuff, took a break from the screen. Now we're going to go over the whole audit, and actually there's going to be a little change of plans because initially I thought about using the 3 questions that we can ask in the account as an example, but what we got now is not last 30 days, but a full year analysis. And this is also why it took so long for Claude to analyze it. So this is not something that you're going to do on a daily basis. This is maybe when you want to do a full once a year or maybe once a quarter detailed analysis of the account. So we're going to cover this full audit instead of the questions. I hope that makes sense for you. So let's check what Claude has wrote us. Scroll down. So there's the full audit report file here. Let's read the quick summary. The most important finding before anything else, the reported ROAS of almost 4 and the 15,000 conversions are not real. The average conversion value in the account is 562. For a 2K, 3K average order value product, this means roughly 11,000-12,000 of those conversions are micro events, add to carts, configuration, interactions, lead forms, being tracked alongside purchases. Every bidding algorithm in the account is optimizing towards the wrong signal. Fix this first, or everything else is wasted work. Okay, interesting. So what I know about the account is that there is a big discrepancy between what Google Ads shows and what the site actually brings. And this comes from an issue within the website that affects the attribution. So I know that the ROAS numbers are not real, and the real ROAS numbers are actually higher, so the results are better, and the client simply cannot fix it easy way because the website is custom built and there are many other challenges. However, we can look at these numbers throughout the whole monthly trend and see if we are improving the numbers or not, and also compare it with the customer's backend, which is the CRM, and see if we are making improvements or not. Now, conversion tracking is the most important thing for Google algorithm to optimize for. So you should never settle for a situation where you have more than 30% discrepancy between what Google Ads shows and what you actually see in your store. And I have actually a separate video on that. You can check it out if you want, but we're not going to go into details. The most important thing is how we can get value from this Claude analysis. So that's what we're going to focus now. So we can see here where the budget is leaking. Brand campaign working perfectly. 2 best campaigns in the account are both paused. Okay. Is the structure right for this average order value? That was our question. It says no. A $2,000-$3,000 jewelry brand needs consolidated campaigns so the algorithm gets enough conversion signal. What exists instead is 50 campaigns, 20 with 0 spend. Okay, it will. Those campaigns were paused basically, so it doesn't count. We have only much less than that is active. Geo-fragmented PMAX that burn budget with 0 conversions. That is interesting. and a search campaign that is spending at scale but losing most of its impression to quality problems. Okay, so there's a lot of going on here, a lot of interesting conclusions. Some of them I don't like, so I want to go into the audit itself and go into more details and see what is it actually about. So let's dive into it. This is the full audit that Claude provided, and we're going to go over it one by one and see what kind of value we can extract from it. So first of all, we have the account snapshot, and you can see it's a full year analysis and not 30 days as we initially wanted it. At least that was in my plan before I recorded the video, but okay, things change. And I think this is actually for the better because you will see much more interesting insight. The reported value is about 8.5 million. To remind you, this is a full year analysis, not a monthly level. Here we have the total spend, the reported return on ad spend, average cost per click, and number of clicks and impressions here at the bottom. Important caveat on all numbers. Reported conversion count is 15,000. Okay, this is something that it mentioned before. Let's go over the critical issues. Budget leaks and structural problems. So this is the context that we provided in the prompt before it started analyzing. So it can give us actually what we need and not just some generic information and advice. So the issue number 1, conversion tracking is broken, micro events mixed with purchases. The average reported conversion value is 562. For a product with $2,000, $3,000 average order value, this can only mean one thing. Add to carts, lead form submissions, newsletter signups, or other micro events are being counted as conversion alongside actual purchases. And I need to specify here that this is true because when we started, the account was using multiple conversions instead of focusing just on purchase. This was an issue at that time, and we fixed that. At the end, it is already resolved, and we're focusing just on purchase. But it took into account the 12-month data. That is why it says it is incorrect. So take that with a pinch of salt. The consequences are account-wide. Yes, of course. First of all, incorrect conversions, it affects smart bidding. Yeah. Every ROAS figure in the account is inflated. Could be that as well. The algorithm will favor traffic that generates add to carts. Yeah, all the consequences if you're using more than one conversions as a primary. So we have evidence from the shopping data. Okay, let's go to issue number 2. So issue number 1 is resolved before these 12 months, somewhere in the beginning of the year. So we can disregard that because it's already solved. Issue number 2, the biggest search has 13 impression share. Search lab-grown diamonds spent almost $500,000 and captured only 13% impression share. It lost 77 of available impressions to ad rank, meaning the ads were ranked too low to show. Here I need to push back, honestly, because impression share, it just shows us how much we're getting from the total market. And our goal is never to be 100% impression share unless it's a specific brand search campaign, because you want to always appear when somebody searches for you. But when you're competing with a jewelry industry that is $50 billion industry, you simply cannot beat the whole competition. So the impression share will never be high unless you're one of the leading brands in US. And this is never the goal. The goal is to make sure that your store gets the results and meets marketing goals that you set up for it. If you getting enough sales on what you're spending and the return on ad spend numbers are great, that's all you care. That's all what you need. The bottom line is how much profit you're getting every month from paid advertising. And this is the most important part. Impression share, we have nothing to do with it. It's irrelevant for the client. Moving on to issue number 3, brand campaign is dramatically underfunded. Search brand generated more than $3 million in conversion value on $50,000 in spend. That's 64% ROAS. The brand is okay. 87% means there's 12% of brand queries going uncaptured. So this is an interesting thing. It basically says that because it's a search brand campaign, we can push it higher and try to get impression share of 100%. I think that 87, 88%, if it's 90%, it's completely fine, but we can definitely check if there's a way to push it to 100. Are we losing money because of it? I think not, because we are basically getting that traffic from organic maybe, and the customer, if it wants to buy, it can find different ways to get to the website and complete a purchase. Remember that somebody searches for our brand, they already know our website, they want to buy, their buying intent is higher. So it's not that critical, but I would definitely explore it in more detail. Why is it only 87% and not 100%? And also a little note about the ROAS. So ROAS here looks ridiculously amazing. 64 means it's crazy. On every dollar you get $64 back. But the pushback here is that search brand doesn't work on its own. It's a part of a big marketing funnel. Let's say you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on cold traffic from Google Ads, or maybe from Meta, or any other channel that is relevant for you. You spend there a lot of money, it didn't convert, and then all of a sudden you see search brand traffic generates a lot of sales. So you cannot look at it as a separate channel. You need to look at the whole funnel as a whole, and then you will see that the actual ROAS is the one that we saw in the beginning. It's about 4, not 64. That makes much more sense. Let's move on to issue number 4. Competitors' campaign is losing money outright. So we have search competitors campaign that targets the competitors. It spent $58,000 and generated $53,000 in conversion value. A ROAS of 0.92%. This campaign spent more than it returned. Let's see, competitor keywords are structurally difficult in jewelry. So the campaign brought approximately the same that it spent, and even if some of this traffic converted later on to brand search campaign, it is still a break-even ROAS number, which is low compared to our average. Our average is 4. This one is barely 1. So in that case, we can definitely say that this campaign did not perform well, and we need to check. First of all, I know that this campaign is paused, has been paused for months, but the most important thing, if you see something like that, you need to check that there are no ways to improve the campaign. Maybe there's one keyword that takes most of its budget and doesn't produce results. Things like that, especially when it has manual bidding, you need to make sure that there's no ways to improve the campaign. And only then you can consider of pausing it. Let's move on to issue number 5. 16 shopping campaigns splitting the same products into numbered lists. The shopping structure has been fragmented into... Okay, so this is a deep dive into how the account structure looks like. So here we have the top selling items, and we have it by top selling, top clickable, top selling. Now, top clickable not necessarily mean that the items are selling. So I don't think that's a good approach with the campaign. And we can also see that the campaigns are split by lists. So we have different lists. You can investigate and see what's the idea behind it, but there's also by location. So it's pretty messy, but again, we're talking here about a store that has more than 100,000 products. So in that case, it makes sense to create a separate campaign for top selling items and create multiple campaigns that have different items. Let's say each campaign has about 10,000 variations of the top selling items. If you put everything into one, it's going to be 50,000. You can argue that you can still analyze this data with AI, but it's going to get messy. You want to have some kind of a control. Also, in terms of profit margin, not all items bring the same profit margin to the store. So it is sorted out here by profit margin, despite being all top selling. There's a lot of things to explore here. So in terms of what should we do with it, we can go into details, but I can tell you from my experience managing this account that, first of all, you can see here that there's only 2 campaigns that are active at the moment. So when we started, we had all of them active. We just going with the best performing ones, because some of them actually failed, didn't deliver. So I can go on, and there's plenty of things here to look at. We can go over it for hours, but my idea here is to show you how the process looks like, how you should use Claude to read the data. And before I touch anything in the account, there are 2 things to take the consideration. First, I open Google Ads and verify the specific numbers that Claude provided. Not because it's usually wrong, most of the time it's right. But the one time it isn't is the one time that you make changes based on wrong data. And we know that AI can hallucinate, it can fabricate the data, and you don't want that to happen. Second, I ask Claude to argue and scrutinize against its own recommendations. Like literally, what's the strongest case for not making this change right now? Or ask him to scrutinize with it 3 to 5 or even 10 times until you come up with an answer you can 100% vouch for. So you can see from this example, the conversion tracking, it was already fixed, but Claude did not notice it. Second suggestion, in terms of impression share, this is irrelevant for the business. So that was also incorrect. But in terms of brand campaign and trying to understand why it's not, why the impression share is not higher than what it is, it's a good catch. And also for competitors' campaign, it is also a very good catch as well. The first audit it provides, and you can also play around and scrutinize with it, it's not final. You can still talk to Claude and give it corrections and things like that, so you will get a better answers. But rule of thumb is you need to provide as much context as possible and what is the end goal here. So that's the full workflow. We pull live data from the account. We give 3 to 4 sentences of context, providing context to Claude. We cross-check before touching anything inside the account. And the audit, I mean, specifically this audit that covers 12 months of data, could have taken me hours and days to read and analyze properly. And now I can do it in 20 to 30 minutes. And honestly, the quality is better because I'm not mentally tired by the time I get to the decisions that actually matter.